this video is about how I do a review of a project finance model. Okay, so in the previous video and blog post, I told you about the typical project timeline and the review process of a project finance model up to the audit and then after audit. Okay, and the difference between audit and review. In this video, I want to tell you and show you, I want to give you just a broad, overview of how I do a review of a project finance model and the two main steps. Okay, so in step one, I put the hat of what I call a financial model mechanic, and this picture here is me back, I don't remember, it was maybe in 2018 when I visited a geothermal power plant in Kenya with Kengen. And it was just an amazing, site to visit. It was built by, I think it was Mitsubishi. And by the time, we visited the site, it was during operation and it was only, functioning with the Kenyan local staff. So it was just amazing, thing to witness. So at this stage, as I said, I am just, looking for looking to understand the model mechanic, structure, and design. Okay. And my aim at this stage is to tell my team or my client whether we can use this model going forward or it's better to rebuild it from scratch. Okay. And as I said in my previous video, it is much better for everyone if we can make the decision in the early stages of development. Okay, so it's better for the developer to make that decision and to come up with the model that they can make sure that, once they get to the financing stage and the review by lenders and sponsors, it's going to pass that stage. Okay, so when I am in this review, I take, that mindset that this model is not going to be used only at this point in time, but it's going to be used going forward. Okay, so you need to have this long-term view of the project when you are doing the review, because as we know, and I'm going to explain in the next videos, that one of the things that I want to check during this process is durability. Okay, so I want to make sure that the model is flexible, transparent, and durable, meaning that I can use it going forward, not only now, not only tomorrow, not only in 1 month, but over the life of the project. Okay. So that's the aim at this stage. And I'm going to tell, as I said, my client ahead of time that at this stage, that's the purpose. Okay. When I started working, as a financial modeler, reviewing financial models, in the early years, I used to make this mistake of writing, long list of questions in the first review. And later, when this happened to me, like people, when they were reviewing my financial models and they were sending me like 300 questions, it was just frustrating, and it's so funny, you can just see it when people, they respond to your questions. In the first maybe 50 questions, 10, 20, 30 questions, you see that the language is very nice and, they explain things, very, kind of comprehensive answers and everything. But if you have a very long list, in the last questions, you will see that you will not get the answer that you want, and this is normal. And in order to avoid this frustration, what I do is that I try to limit the number of questions that I ask, and I also, another thing is to do it in phases. So this phase one is only dealing with the model mechanics. Okay, so we don't care about the assumptions and what goes into the model. That's not the concern for now. We don't care about what is the IRR, the bankability, and all that. This is not the concern. This stage, phase one or step one, is just to check the model mechanic. So we want to make sure that this skeleton of this house that we are building is robust enough, is flexible enough, and is transparent enough, and it can take us through the different phases of the project. Okay? And if suppose that I come up, my conclusion is that we cannot use this model, I need to be very diplomatic and I need to be very understanding of the answer and the arguments that I want to give. Because we know that people, they spend a lot of time and money on building these tools, right? Sometimes they hire a consultant, they pay the consultant, and they get the financial model. And sometimes, this, especially if you're dealing with overly complex, I call them black box financial models. If you deal with these complex models, you know that there has been a lot of time and money spent on them. So if you want to recommend that we cannot use the model, you need to have the right arguments, right? You need to be convincing that you know why you think this model is not good enough. Okay. And as I said, that's challenging, of course. You know, you need to really, prepare yourself to defend your argument if you really think, and you need to really, do that. I did the mistake of sometimes being flexible and saying that, okay, accepting the arguments, for not rebuilding a model from scratch, although I knew that there were issues with the model. It happened to me that, I said, okay, let's go. But then at some point in time, we had to do it. So it's better if you think and you have the right arguments to think that, we need to rebuild the model. You better enforce it as soon as you realize it. Okay. And to have the right argument. So once I review and I tell them that you need to rebuild the model from scratch, then it's an iterative kind of process as well. So they're going to send me the new model and I'm going to guide them as well on how I want the model, okay? Because it's not sufficient to tell someone that what they are doing is wrong. You also need to tell them what you expect from them, right? So in this arguments that I have, I will tell them why I think the model is not good enough for this project. And I will also tell them that how to fix it. Okay. So I will really make sure that, I give them enough guidance to know how to fix it. Okay. So once we come up with a model that we think we can work with it and we can adopt it, then we pass and we go to our step 2, which is the review of inputs and assumptions and calculations and defining the base case. In terms of timeline, I spend maybe 20% of my time on doing the mechanical check, and 80% of my time goes into defining the base case, understanding the base case, understanding what goes into the financial model, understanding how they have done the calculation, understanding the contracts and comparing the contracts with the financial model. So this is mainly 80% of the effort that I put in the review. 20% is on the mechanical check and 80% is on the assumption check. That's why I say that in this next step, step 2, you have to put the hat of what I call a financial model detective. And I have a book that I named it Financial Model Detective because that's how I see the role of a financial modeler. You need to come at this stage and really take your loop and look into the financial model and the inputs and try to understand each input that goes into the model and see whether you find it, relevant for this project. Do some benchmarking, look at the project documents, look at the contracts, try to find the right reference for the inputs, and also, of course, calculations, whether they have done the ratios calculation correct, whether they have done the dividends correct, whether they have done the taxes correct, depreciation, and all the modules correctly in the model. So that's the job of a financial model detective, to do that. And finally, define a base case and define the different scenarios. So all of this is a very iterative kind of process. You're not done with this only once, but it is like really iterative process that you have to do it over and over. Every time that you receive a new financial model, you need to do the mechanical review. It's going to be faster, in the second and the third and the fourth iteration, because you're kind of like fix the model structure and mechanics, but you will mainly focus on the assumptions afterward, but you still need to check. but you will still, but you will mainly focus on the changes in the assumptions and the inputs. Okay. So that was it. In the next videos, I will go deeper into the mechanical check and the step two in the review of assumptions and calculations. And I will give you some hints on how to do these steps. So hope to see you in the next videos. Thank you and bye.